today I have my special guest. She is three-time best-selling author, keynote speaker, and a spiritual transformation coach. No other than Miss Sylvia Worsham.
Hi. Hi, it's
Yay!
great to be here with you.
Welcome to Food 101, Miss Sylvia. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, you made such a good introduction, but yes, I'm a three times best-selling author. My latest book is called In Faith I Thrive, Finding Joy Through God's Master Plan. It was released last year, and it's a best-selling book on Amazon. I have been writing books for the last 4 years, but before then was a certified John Maxwell trained speaker, coach, and trainer. And then just started doing my own masterminds since 2017. And that's what I've been doing the last couple of years. I live in Austin, Texas. I'm married and I have children and a dog.
Yes,
Uh,
Miss Sylvia Worsham, thank you so much for sharing your books to the world. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today you are on Food 101. Let's talk about what's your absolute all-time favorite food or dish.
like I told you prior to the interview, I'm Mexican. I'm full-blooded Mexican. And the dish growing up that I loved that my mother would make me for my birthday, because she would ask us, what do you want me to make you for your birthday? That was our tradition. And I would request sopes. My mother's from Mexico City. My father was from Monterrey. And sopes is basically a small corn tortilla that they fry in oil, because everything is fried in oil in the Mexican cuisine. And they start layering it up with black beans, and then they make a mixture of chorizo and potatoes, and they put that on top, and then they shred some iceberg lettuce, a slice of tomato, some Mexican cream, and some Mexican cheese, and they serve it typically with Mexican rice and a side dish of poblano peppers that they've mixed in with onions and cream. And so it's delicious. And so what my mom used to always tell me growing up is, do not eat for like 2 days before you eat this dish, because it's over 1,000 calories in one sitting. So that's my
Oh
favorite
la
dish.
la, oh la la, delicioso. Is there a specific memory or person you associated strongly with your favorite food?
The memory is of birthdays.
Mm,
The
nice.
birthdays growing up, that it was the dish I always requested. It was either that, and now as an older woman, my husband will make me my steak, my New York strip steak, for dinner, and for dessert, my birthday cake is my absolute favorite, strawberry shortcake,
Yes. Oh la
and he makes
la, I
it.
love it. Oh,
So
homemade.
it's
Awesome.
homemade.
Yeah,
That's our
awesome.
tradition. We passed on the tradition from my house to my childhood home to my married home, and we
A
make each other's
legacy.
dinners.
A legacy indeed. So, what's your ultimate comfort food and why does it make you feel the way?
The comfort food that always brings me back to center, interestingly enough, is dessert, and it's
Yes.
Mexican rice pudding, and I make it, and it's delicious, and I can eat it for breakfast because it's rice. It's a rice dish, and
Yes.
sometimes I just eat it for dinner, and it just brings me back to the sense of my childhood, which are cinnamon and la lechera, which is the
Milk.
Mexican sweetened condensed milk. And
Okay.
it smells divine in my house when I make it.
So, can you please elaborate more how you do this rice pudding in a Mexican traditional way?
Okay, so typically you'll want to put raisins in it. I don't like it with raisins. So
Yeah.
it's basically 7 cups of water is 1 cup of rice. And after you finish making the rice and you drain it, then you bring the three milks into play. You've got evaporated milk, sweetened condensed milk, and regular whole fat milk into it, and you stir it up for the next, and you really have to stir it up because, as you know, milk products can burn. And so you stir, 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 stir until you're done. And at the end, you put powdered cinnamon. What I forgot to mention is when you're making the rice, you
Yes.
put in 3 cinnamon sticks. And that's
Wow.
what really makes your house smell divine.
Yes, totally divine with the cinnamon spice. And what's one dish someone else makes, your family or friend, that you absolutely crave?
Let me think about that. My mother would make this shrimp scampi that she
Wow.
got from a restaurant in San Antonio, Texas, because we lived in South Texas, and we would travel for competitions, athletic competitions when we were kids, and we would end up at Shrimp Paisanos in San Antonio. And the paisano shrimp is something that my mom would make, and I absolutely crave it from time to time. She would make it with a side of just white rice, but the aromas from the shrimp were just like out of this world. And the way they got the recipe was one of my mother's best friends actually asked the chef from the restaurant if they'd be willing to share the recipe, and they did. And
Yes,
so that was
indeed.
something that is, I crave it and crave it and crave it at times. So
So if cinnamon is divine, scampi is out of this world. Amazing. Do you have favorite restaurant for a specific dish? What makes ordering in there special?
I love sushi restaurants. Our favorite sushi restaurant here near Austin, Texas, where we live, is called Sotos. And I love that restaurant because they create these wonderful menus that are seasonal menus. And so when my husband and I have gone for our anniversary, we will just randomly pick, and the presentation of the dishes are beautiful. And
Yes.
so you have the full five senses incorporated. And what I love about this restaurant and the waiters and the wait staff is that they'll always recommend a cocktail for you to drink with what you're selecting in sushi. And that makes all the difference in the world because you've got to have it all. There's this one dish that I love from Sotos. It's called fire salmon, and they
Wow.
bring the salmon and they have edible flowers on it, and the fire is like cooking it, and
Hmm.
on the side is a raspberry chili sauce that is out of this world, and that's my favorite dish from Sotos.
Yes, indeed. Sushi. Arigato gozaimasu, as the Japanese saying. So, does your favorite food connect to your heritage or culture you love, and how so?
Well, like I mentioned, I am Mexican, and I absolutely love the dish that my mom would make me growing up, and most of the dishes that she would make me. Another dish that I absolutely love because it reminds me of my mother's cooking and her attention and her love and care uh, are flautas. Do you know what a flauta is,
No,
Josh?
can you
No.
please enlighten us?
So the flautas, of course, they fry the tortillas,
Yes, yes.
and then they roll up shredded chicken, and they fry them, and then they dress them up with again with the iceberg lettuce and the Mexican cream and the Mexican cheese. Sometimes they do like almost like an enchilada, like where they will put like sauce on the
Yes,
bottom, like a salsa,
yes, yes.
and they will dress it with the salsa on top or on the bottom. And they serve that, and these are crispy tacos, and they serve that with Mexican rice. And it always brings me back to my teenage years where my mom and I used to hang out all the time. And that was another favorite dish of mine. It just kind of brings me back to happier times.
Yes, bring back those memories for sure. And what's the most important element for you in a great food experience? Is it a flavor explosion or perfect texture or amazing aroma or beautiful presentation?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, but truth be told, what really impresses me is the explosion of flavor in my mouth. If
Yes.
I taste something and just I can sense it from all my five senses are engaged when I have explosion in my mouth. And one of the things that I remember from my time I lived in France was the pain au chocolat, which is on every corner that you visit in France, and the explosion at precisely the right moment that that chocolate, once it touches your tongue, and there's nothing like it, that crispiness of the croissant and
Yeah.
the just the oh, I don't know. That bread is divine too. I mean, I dream about it sometimes.
Let's go to France and eat that croissant. Are you generally drawn more to sweet flavors or savory, salty ones?
I love sweet. There's no question. And what's really
Mm,
sad nowadays is that I am not allowed additional sugars in food from my doctor for a
yes.
time being. And so I'm having to get very creative to add the sweetness to my dishes in a natural way. So I find
Yes.
that if I add a little bit of mango to my oatmeal in the mornings, I get to sweeten it up. I am still able to have coconut, so I love mixing the mango and the coconut together with oatmeal. It tastes delicious, and I don't have to add anything else, any added sugar, because the fruit sweetness is enough.
Yes. For sure. So, what's the most unique or adventurous food you ever tried and love?
Snails
Wow, from France too.
from France too. And to me, that was super adventurous because you don't, you see them on the ground, you don't picture them in your mouth. But when
Yes,
you try them, they're so good. They're
true.
so, so good. And especially in the sauces that the French know how to make, they know how to develop flavor. It's such a delicacy. And then anything with French bread on the side, just to be able to dip it in that sauce, is out of this world.
Yes, truly, truly, truly delicious. Is your favorite food something you enjoy cooking yourself, or do you prefer to made by others?
Made by others, because I don't personally like to cook. I like to bake.
Yes.
That I'll eat. I will, well, when I could eat it, I would make banana breads, and or I would make this. This is my favorite chocolate cake. It's a three-tiered chocolate cake. It's not chocolate. The cake is not chocolate. The icing is chocolate. The cake is my favorite, orange and almond cake, and it's got
Wow.
a marmalade in the middle of the three layers, and then the icing is the chocolate icing that my mother made, my grandmother, my great grandmother would make. So it's homemade. Everything is homemade.
Yes, homemade is the best one, people. No preservative. Do you think, Miss Sylvia, sooner or later you will write a book regarding your favorite food?
Probably not. Probably not. I did in Faith I Thrive in chapter 3. I
Yes.
talked extensively about my year abroad in France, and I included a lot of food in
Yes.
that chapter because it's hard not to when you live in France. That's what they're known for, right?
Definitely. Food, food, food over there. So tell us what is all about in faith I thrive, finding joy through God's master plan.
So this book was a second edition to my first book, which was called Journey to Me. And it was a book that was it was a prompting from God to write this book to help people navigating major turning points in life, major change. And so what I help readers do in essence is I take them on a spiritual transformative journey out of their fear. So understanding how their belief systems really need to be shifted, need to be empowered. The ego must be empowered. The ego is the self-image. so that they can actually confidently step into being joyful, because a lot of Americans and people in general don't know how to be, they know how to do. So being
Yes.
joyful is the second level, that you level up from your fear, right? Once you gain freedom from your fear, then the book takes you on experiencing and stepping, having joy in your journey. And then ultimately, it takes you into full surrender to God's sovereignty. Because the more we surrender, and I mean surrender daily to God's will, the more joy we will experience. And so that's why the book is titled In Faith I Thrive, because when you step in faith, you begin thriving in life. When you have a relationship with yourself and with God Himself, then you start stepping into His master plan with as much joy as you can. And so, what I guide readers to do is to step into their divine purpose and into their light. And I've been doing this through the podcast as well. My podcast, Release Out, Reveal Purpose, takes you on the same journey. I invite people to talk about their dark chapters, how they got out of the dark chapter, how they step into their joy, and ultimately how did their purpose get revealed to them, their divine purpose. And the book does the same thing.
Yes, people, tune in for Miss Sylvia Worsham on my Book 101 review. We will talk about all her books because she's a three times best-selling author. And let's go back to your favorite food, Miss Sylvia. Is there a specific food smell that instantly makes your mouth water?
Yes,
What is
cilantro.
that? Wow.
Cilantro. Like when I smell it, I
Mm.
just I come back to life. I know it's so strange. I get it, but because of my Mexican culture, I just love that scent. And when I smell it in Thai food, it's like, oh, come to mom. Let me have that dish, because that's another favorite food of mine is Thai food. Thai food, and
Oh,
they use a lot of cilantro in
yes.
there. So, and it just it it's an herb that you can eat stand alone, and it just tastes divine. Um, but when you combine it with fresh vegetables, for example, or with guacamole in Mexico, it makes it. Or when I make my mother's ceviche, that's another favorite food of mine. Ceviche,
Oh,
where
wow.
cilantro is a big component of it.
Miss Sylvia, do you have a strong preference for certain food textures like crispy, creamy, chewy, or melt in your mouth?
That's a good question. I like crunchy, and I think
Crunchy.
it's the noise. I think it's the noise. I just love to crunch. Like one of
Yes.
my favorite things to crunch on are like the chips and queso. You
Oh,
have the melted
wow.
queso, and then you're just eating with the chips, and the
Yes.
chips are crunchy. And the crunchier they are, the more that that mixture of crunchy with smooth is the
Mm,
best.
definitely. So, what's the most memorable food you've discovered while traveling?
While traveling, I'm trying to think. Oh, that's a good question. Oh my goodness. That is going to just like stump me.
Yes.
I haven't thought about that. I'm wondering what other guests have answered. What have they answered in the past?
Well, sometimes they said, oh, their favorite dish that they favorite now, which is they discovered when they're traveling. Yes. Just let's say most of them are dessert.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yes.
Um, I'm just like in Mexico. Let me see if I remember in Italy or Spain when I traveled there. Um, I mean, the
Panacotta.
chocolate in Switzerland. The
Oh my
chocolate in Switzerland
God.
was something you can't ever forget. The first time you put a bar of chocolate, like true Swiss chocolate in your mouth, you don't want to ever go back to anything else. Like nothing else can compare to it. I'm really trying to think of an actual dish, but in France there were so many dishes, it's hard to pick.
True.
One of the things I did love one of the dishes I did discover were the mussels with pommes frites. So the mussels with potato French fries.
Yes, French
That
fries.
dish is also very yummy, and I love that combination because I would never think of that combination. I never would think seafood with French fries, but the French would, and it's a very good dish. And I did discover it when I lived in France, and I really loved it, and I brought it back because I make a mussels dish that my family loves, and I don't make it with the French fries. I may have to try that.
Try it. Try it. So, Miss Sylvia, as being a three times best-selling author, keynote speaker, and spiritual transformation coach, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My long term goal is to continue with my podcast, Released Out Reveal Purpose. I've actually stepped into a role at my church here in Austin, Texas, as a coach. I'm working with the heal and recovery teams, heal and growth teams. And so that's long term for me. And what I really think my long term goal will be is to get my master's in theology
Mm.
and then possibly my PhD in psychology theology.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Sylvia. I'm looking forward for more success, and I'm looking forward for our episode on Book 101 review. So, what would you piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
If you want to write a book and publish a book, here's what you need to do. You need to set a big, bold goal that you are going to do it. You need to find a place in your home. And every day, whether you feel like it or not, you write. Just write. And if you can't think of anything to write, do what Julia Cameron tells her readers to do in her very famous book, The Artist's Way, is to write the following sentence: I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. And the first time you do it for the first 3 pages, by the next time you sit down, you will write something, believe me. so so that's my advice for first time authors. And I just say go for it because the truth is you only have one life and you
True.
gotta suck the marrow out of it. So go for it. Nothing
And
to
it's
lose, everything
not
to gain.
yes, and stop procrastinating, people. If you have the passion to write, and share your talents to the world. So, Miss Sylvia, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my one of my well my podcast supposed to be, but my all my podcasts are not ready for my slides because my abstract essay is in fourth season, and my abstract poetry in its second season, and my what just while I'm sharing the screen, and my book 101 review in fifth season, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season too, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast law 101 and mental health 101 love letters in third season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Sylvia, do you have any unusual or surprisingly delicious food combinations you enjoy?
Combination sweet and sour.
Yes, either a main course.
Oh, yeah. Sweet and sour, chocolate with salt on it. I know I keep
Yeah,
mentioning chocolate. I have a
chocolate.
sweet
That's good.
tooth.
Chocolate indeed. Miss Sylvia Worsham, thank you so much for sharing your favorite food to the world, and hoping for more and more food to come to discover. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, your coaching, or your favorite food that they want to, try?
Well, favorite food, um, like I said, rice pudding.
Yes.
And if you want to follow me, go to my webpage, www.sylviaworsham.com. That's SylviaWorsham.com. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, people, less about Miss Sylvia Worsham because if you support her, more and more and more best-selling books to come, more and more empowering speaking to come, or yes, and of course, empowering advocacy to come. So, Miss Sylvia, thank you so much for your time. More to
Loved
come,
having you.
people. Yes, more to come, people. See you soon.